Among those stopping off at Malta prior to the Big Three conferences is W. Averill Harriman, U.S. Ambassador to the Soviets, and five-star General George Marshall with British Field Marshal Wilson. The meeting at war-torn Malta is only preliminary to the final meeting with Marshal Stalin. The Mediterranean Conference of the Allied military leaders is held within the stately walls of Montgomery House. Here starts a series of talks that will profoundly influence the diplomatic and political future of the world. Field Marshal Alexander of the Mediterranean Theater and General Brahan Somerville and Admiral King attend. But the meeting really gets down to business at Yalta, former Crimean summer capital of the Tsars. Anthony Eden, Foreign Commissar Molotov, and Secretary Stettinius are on hand to greet England's Prime Minister. Hoping to solve intricate problems of war and peace, President Roosevelt reaches the Yalta meeting, accompanied by his daughter, Mrs. Anna Boddicker. These are Army Signal Corps pictures of an historic world meeting that will shape the destiny of future generations. The summer palace of Tsar Nicholas II is the setting for Russia's welcome. The conference is to seal Hitler's fate and establish lasting peace, and is attended by Presidential Advisor Harry Hopkins with Mr. Eden. The host arrives, Joseph Stalin, Chairman of the Council of People's Commissars of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Not since the Tehran Conference 14 months ago have the three top executives of Allied strategy and diplomacy met. Meantime, the results of that first meeting were bearing fruit on Germany's eastern and western borders. Hitler's hordes were being crushed between the jaws of Allied might. His people were in disordered flight. His remaining Axis partner, Japan, was being pounded by terrific air blows. This meeting crystallizes the Allied resolve that Germany shall be beaten unconditionally and that lasting peace shall prevail throughout the world.
Lublin, Poland, a name that will live forever in the long annals of Nazi brutality. Here, countless thousands died in a ruthless bloodbath, and this ancient castle was the death house for slave workers coldly machine-gunned at their sewing machines. Men, women, and children, it was all the same to the supermen. This is the war of extermination our enemy has waged. This is master race savagery. Nor do the dead bear all the scars. The living will carry to their graves the memory of this massacre. In this prison, 700 civilians were murdered by retreating Germans. During the occupation of Poland, it is estimated that 1,500,000 civilians were systematically slain. When Nazis whine for a soft peace, remember these pictures. More than 40 persons were killed, 200 were injured, and property damage running into the hundreds of thousands followed in the wake of a tornado that ripped through Alabama and Mississippi. Striking first in Mississippi, the storm swept north for 150 miles, spending its fury at Alabama's state capital, Montgomery. It was here that the tornado tossed boxcars around like matchboxes. To help in relief work, troops were called out. The Salvation Army and the Red Cross also gave invaluable aid.
Well, here they are again, the Doggy Dogs at the 69th Westminster Show in Madison Square Garden. While they didn't take any ribbons, this litter of 23 foxhounds stole the show, along with their mama Lena, who bears her honors easily. The St. Bernard always looms large in any show, but the boxers rank second in entries. Of the many breeds shown, few attracted more attention than the ever-popular Spaniels. The towering Irish Wolfhounds still top the show for size. Oh no, they're not sheep, Junior, they're Bedlingtons. A couple of good neighbors, Mexican Hairless and Chihuahua. And in case you're interested, this is a Basset Hound. Now, the big moment in the dog year, the finals and the winner, Best in Show, a 1945 champ, Scottish Terrier Sheeling Signature. The shadow of the Statue of Liberty furnishes American Boy Scout representatives an appropriate background for the presentation of the first money to go into a World Friendship Fund to provide assistance to scouts in liberated nations. These scouts of all nations take part in paying tribute to that freedom which Miss Liberty symbolizes. This is the 35th year of an organization that has helped develop some of the heroes of this war. But peace and aid is always their aim. The 14th Air Force in China gets the cream of the crop when it comes to experts, and here's the latest to join the technical staff of the division that makes target charts. He's Tiger Joe, and he's coming clean before he's officially accepted. A 4-year-old, Joe was found by some GIs, and now, uniformed, scrubbed and shining, he's reporting for duty. He receives his commission, but let the Signal Corps camera show you just what. And every time inspection rolls around, who's the finest soldier in line? You bet. Tiger Joe. His pistol, real to the Tiger, is always in perfect shape. For him, we have the ideal soldier. He never has to worry about the commanding officer. And when the company is swung out, Joe's stride may not be as big as the rest, but you can bet this little Tiger is always in step. Escorted to an American cruiser lying near the entrance to the Suez Canal, King Farouk of Egypt is first of 3 royal visitors to be piped aboard. Here he's received by President Roosevelt, accompanied by his daughter, Mrs. Anna Berger, en route from the Yalta Conference. Prime Minister Churchill had already talked with the Mideastern rulers regarding situations concerning the victory and the coming peace. Egyptian and American flags fly above a scene that's all friendliness. This series of informal conferences clears many problems affecting diplomatic and economic relations. Next aboard the American warship is Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia. With his country free of the fascist yoke, he again takes his place among the world leaders. Relief for his people and rehabilitation of his country are questions of crowning importance to the Lion of Judah. One of the most colorful visits to the presidential cruiser was that of the ruler of Saudi Arabia, King Ibn Saud. Special arrangements for food and comfort were installed on the American destroyer, aboard which lived the king and his entourage. All the traditional splendor of the mysterious East is manifested in the costumes of the royal party. The 65-year-old monarch leaves his country for the first time to attend this meeting. Marine Colonel Eddy, American minister to Arabia, accompanies King Ibn Saud. From Washington to Suez is a long way, but understanding each other's problems brings East and West together for a better world. Prince Umberto, active head of Italy's royal family, arrives to decorate American officers who have participated in his country's liberation. General Mark Clark receives the Grand Cross of the Order of St. Maurice. General Truscott is made Grand Officer of the same order. A number of other officers are honored at the ceremony. Italy strides forward to join the ranks of democracy.
7 persons were injured when a passenger train plowed into a derailed locomotive near Lancaster, Pennsylvania during a blinding snowstorm. The crash occurred before tracks could be cleared following an earlier derailment. Winter adds its hazards to America's war-burdened railroads.
These GIs are following in the footsteps of their dads, who once sang, "How you gonna keep 'em down on the farm after they've seen Paris?" And here they are checking in on that 48-hour pass, which calls for an honest-to-gosh bed. The Arc de Triomphe, a tourist must, as well as the Eternal Light, commemorating France's World War dead. Wait till the gals in Peoria hear about this, but they can take it if the perfume goes with it. It's a rugged war, but American Rangers and guerrillas set off for the American lines with Allied prisoners, mostly Yanks, whom they rescued from a Jap prison camp. In a lightning-swift movement, they killed off the Jap guards, and now outmaneuvering enemy patrols, with few stops for food or rest, they push to safety. The rescuers find most of the men in miserable health, those who lived through these years of hell. Food that was brought in is the first want of all these half-famished men. And a cigarette comes next, you can bet, before the Rangers shepherd the freed men on to safer territory. Safe at an evacuation hospital where they can receive further care before heading for home. It's the happiest day in their lives, and for the first time since captured, they can wear decent clothes instead of Japanese rags and have a chance to wear shoes once more. This freedom brought tears of joy to all the internees. And another almost forgotten luxury after the comfort of a bath, food, and rest. This newfound freedom is their idea of heaven. Sergeant Samuel Ring, formerly of Wilkes-Barre, is greeted by his 2 sons who lived with guerrilla bands. Listen to Corporal Cecil Hay.
You people do not realize how happy us boys were when we were liberated. I didn't realize myself until we had arriven and saw the flag that was flying, and then I had to break down and cry.
Sergeant Walter O. French from Arkansas.
Well, about the only thing I have to say, the last 2 years have been nothing but hell. One of the saddest days of my life was when I was taken prisoner, and the happiest day was when I was liberated by the Rangers.
Sergeant Samuel Goldie knows what he wants.
Well, we're finally free Americans. It took them 3 years, but we're sure glad to get out of there. The Rangers come in that night, and it was about as happy a sight I'd ever seen in my life. For 3 years, we couldn't do anything without someone telling us what to do, and now at last we can do what we want when we want to. Be sure glad to get back to the United States where I'll be a free American again and get myself a milkshake.
Now into trucks for the port and the ships that are bound for home. This is the moment they have lived and dreamed for throughout their imprisonment. The brutal driving inland near Subic Bay, one arm of MacArthur's 3-pronged attack captures Olongapo Naval Station on the way to Manila. This same thrust, which later joined with the forces pouring south from Lingayen Bay, also takes an airfield, which prior to the approach of the ground forces had been heavily strafed by our bombers. Many Jap planes have been caught on the ground and will never fly again. The fleeing enemy used bombs to mine the field, but the Dragon's teeth are pulled, and entrenched Japs ahead are pounded by our heavy howitzers. The enemy puts up little resistance until our troops reach the outskirts of the capital, where their rear guard elements put up a strong delaying action. The third spearhead closing the trap on the Manila Japs is led by Lieutenant General Robert Eichelberger. The American forces, whose strength has been increased by bands of patriotic Filipino guerrillas, moves on Manila with all the irresistible force of a tidal wave. Luzon's native tribesmen, the Negritos, add their forces to the liberation of their homeland. The main attack rolls down from the north, and as our victorious forces reach the suburbs of Manila, the net closes on Japanese collaborators. These are official Signal Corps pictures. There's a little extra welcome in this particular town. Seems our guns and bombs clean missed the local brewery. Nearing the city, swollen to 1 million wartime population, stark proof of the Jap occupation is encountered. And as Manila Station is reached, evidence of Jap demolition is met. Knowing they couldn't hold the capital, they destroyed all they could with gasoline and dynamite. Loyal guerrillas point out Jap snipers. A Yank sharpshooter gives them a dose of their own medicine. 3 years of relentless effort is rewarded. 5-star General Douglas MacArthur sets his people free. Here in Bilibid prison, 1,100 people suffered all the vicious brutality of a remorseless enemy. Faced with a diet of potato peelings and the flesh of dogs and cats when they could get it, deliberately starved and ravaged by disease, the released captives find strength and courage to greet their liberator. Toughest of the barriers encountered by our forces was the Pasig River. An armored Jap boat is sunk. Our troops cross to the south bank, under fire. The wounded are rushed to hospitals. The Japs, entrenched in Southside Manila, fought stubbornly for many days, using every trick they knew, burning and wrecking as they withdrew, and sheltering behind the civilian population. They staved off defeat as long as possible. Manila is a shambles, and the natives are driven from their homes by the savage battle. For years they had to bow to their hated invaders, salute them, obey their curfew, and display their flag. But now, with a little more effort, they will be free of the yoke. Nearing Intramuros, the old walled city built by the Spanish, the fighting grows in intensity. Some of the natives are caught in the murderous crossfire. Japs blew up water mains and pumping stations, and Manila's fire equipment was completely useless. In North Manila alone, one whole section of 20 blocks was fire swept. Our forces fought fire with dynamite, blasting fire breaks to halt consuming flames. Through the gutted city, the battle continues. There's only one way to stop the destruction: drive the Jap out completely. While in control, the Japs methodically stripped the Filipinos of their possessions, but they saved some things. As the Yanks advanced, the citizens returned to their former neighborhoods. Thousands died because the Japs would not release them, and because collaborationists betrayed them. Agents of the enemy who helped open the doors to the Jap invaders. Many Filipinos gave their lives as part of the price of victory. But Manila's dead are revenged. The 6 weeks campaign cost the Japs 100,000 men and opened Manila Bay to our ships. The enemy's lifeline through the China Sea is at the mercy of our planes and battle wagons. The recapture of Manila sets the stage for the big show, the drive on the Japanese homeland, and Manila itself will arise again from its ashes. Santo Tomas University, Jap prison camp, opens its gates to 3,700 internees. Hard-driving American forces sweeping the enemy from Manila free men, women, and children held prisoners during the 3 years of Jap occupation. One of General MacArthur's first missions is to call upon the happy internees. The American Army moves in. Signal Corps cameras record the happy day. During the general's visit, Jap forces still in the city train their guns on the university. Many of the helpless internees were wounded by the enemy's fire. Of those liberated, the adults show all signs of malnutrition. Mothers and fathers fed their children most of the meager rations furnished by the enemy. Fuel for cooking and warmth is very scarce, but these undernourished heroes find strength to complete their tasks. Some of the people live in thatched huts, and now with the addition of American Army food, their lot is more cheerful. One of the finest things about freedom is news from home. The Red Cross, serving our unhappy people held by the enemy in all parts of the world, handles messages from friends and relatives in the United States. Red Cross field workers are nearly overwhelmed by the crowd, eager to have word of the homeland to which they will soon return in glory. Geneva, Switzerland is the nerve center of the International Red Cross, where packages for prisoners of war are channeled to Allied soldiers in enemy prison camps. This is one of the many good things your dollar does when you contribute to the Red Cross. Help send these life-saving packages to our boys. At Geneva, an elaborate filing system assures that each Allied prisoner will receive his package. Returning prisoners have said they wouldn't have been able to exist without them. By the trainload, the packages go regularly to each man in every prison camp. The Red Cross drive is on. Is there any better reason for contributing than this? On the heels of a real old-fashioned winter, ice-packed rivers have gone on a rampage. The Rocky River near Cleveland shows what ice and current can do when they combine forces. Many families were evacuated from the area. Along the Susquehanna near Columbia, Pennsylvania, houses were crushed and the city's water supply menaced when its pumping plant was covered by 5 feet of water. At the crucial moment, the jam was broken and the ice began moving with what river engineers described as amazing speed. The breakup comes just in the nick of time. A few more days and increased hardship would have descended on many river towns. Reaching for the sky is familiar business to these 83-foot mighty midgets of the Coast Guard. They performed nobly in the English Channel, rescuing hundreds of downed airmen. Now they're tackling patrol service on the broad Atlantic, and protecting America's shoreline is no less rugged. Just to make it a little tougher, sub-zero temperatures and howling winds coat the little craft in a sheathing of ice, as these Coast Guard pictures show. But that hasn't kept them from hunting prowling submarines winter and summer. Even Old Glory takes a beating when Neptune and Gales gang up on craft of the Flea Fleet and the doughty lads who man them. On his return to America following the Big Three Conference at Yalta, President Roosevelt reports to the American people.
There were 2 main purposes in this Crimea conference. The first was to bring defeat to Germany with the greatest possible speed, with the smallest possible loss of Allied men. That purpose is now being carried out in great force. The second purpose was to continue to build the foundation for an international accord that would bring order and security after the chaos of the war, that would give some assurance of lasting peace among the nations of the world. The defeat of Germany will not mean the end of the war against Japan. On the contrary, we must be prepared for a long and costly struggle in the Pacific. That the unconditional surrender of Japan is as essential as the defeat of Germany. I say that advisedly with the thought in mind that that is especially true if our plans for world peace are to succeed. The Japanese militarism must be wiped out as thoroughly as German militarism. I hope in our history, and therefore in the history of the world, there will soon be presented to the Senate and the American people a great decision that will determine the fate of the United States, and I think therefore the fate of the world, for generations to come. There can be no middle ground here. We shall have to take the responsibility for world collaboration, or we shall have to bear the responsibility for another world conflict. And I am confident that the Congress and the American people will accept the results of this conference as the beginnings of a permanent structure of peace, upon which we can begin to build, under God, that better world in which our children and grandchildren, yours and mine, the children and grandchildren of the whole world must live and can live.
What this sort of job demands of an attacking army can be seen in the attitude of these United States infantrymen and tank crews. Rubble-choked streets, skillfully placed German pockets of resistance have to be squeezed. Each has to be cleared like this one. Seeing the last of it for quite a while.
Now for the Americans, as well as from British. Systematic obliteration of Germany as a nation. Marshalling yards were the target at Ansbach. Every day of this air offensive, they carried out Eisenhower's order to wipe out German railways. Wittenberg, famous as the town in which Martin Luther laid the foundation. American fighters shot up scores of German aircraft on the ground. Marshalling yards again. At Lüneburg, it was marshalling yards again. Attacks on Nuremberg wiped out tank factories, electrical plants, chemical works.
Driving through terrific storms, task forces of the Pacific Fleet roam the seas about Japan's homeland, steadily cutting down her remaining power to wage war. Sure of their superior strength, carrier forces boldly attack Tokyo and run down Jap convoys along the sea route between Nipponese supply bases and enemy troops in Borneo, Singapore, and other isolated garrisons. It's dirty going in these winter gales, but through storm or calm, they're out to cut the enemy's lifeline. Planes warm up for a hazardous takeoff through wind and rain. Over the target, they go in for the kill. But the main target is Tokyo itself. Here the supply lifeline is cut at its source. Planes from Admiral Mitcher's famous Task Force 58 conquer fighter plane opposition. Navy and Marine pilots in 3 days destroy 817 Jap planes. We lost but 9 fighters. Navy combat cameramen filmed these dramatic scenes of the attack on the heart of Japan. A strike that first hit Tokyo in the early morning hours when her armament plants were buzzing with industry. This is what the boys call the Mitcher Shampoo. A huge aluminum plant is the next customer to get the hot towel. daring attack such as this cut off Jap reinforcements to Iwo Jima and crippled Japan's entire war industry.
Foot by foot is the bitter and bloody story of the advance on Iwo Jima, whose 8 square miles cost 4,100 American lives and total casualties of 20,000, half as many as all previous Marine operations in the Pacific combined. These Americans bought with their lives a vital stepping stone to Tokyo. Navy and Marine Corps pictures show alligators grinding their way forward for the first assault on Mount Suribachi, whose guns command most of the island. Its capture is vital, and Navy planes roar into the attack. Hundreds of carrier planes take part in this softening up bombardment. Marines dig in for the big push up the mountain behind a curtain of dive bombing. Big guns of the fleet offshore join the pulverizing barrage. On shore, howitzers hammer the Japs holed up in Suribachi's countless caves. The summit of Suribachi is now in range of concentrated land fire. The slow, agonizing crawl begins under merciless Jap fire, and pockets must be cleaned out with grenades. "22,000 Japs died in the fanatical defense of Iwo against Marine courage that would not be denied. Few prisoners were taken in the 27-day struggle. Literally thousands of foxholes and pillboxes had to be taken before Iwo was ours. The fortifications of the Jap bastion make even more incredible the epic of Marine achievement. But take it they did, to their everlasting glory. The blood-soaked volcanic ash will live forever as their monument."
Desperate Japs put Manila to the torch as the first elements of Yanks burst into the city and proceed with mopping up operations. Manila is being freed after 3 years of bondage. At Rizal Stadium, tanks advance to clean out Jap snipers hidden in the bleachers and under the stadium. The cleaning up of Manila is not without cost. After retreating rapidly from Lingayen Gulf to Manila, the Japs die by the thousands in a fanatical defense of the city. No portion of the city escapes Jap destruction as they retreat block by block before the irresistible American advance. Japs are blasted from a manufacturing plant. As North Manila is cleaned up, artillery opens up on South Manila across the Pasig River, where Japs are dug in for a last-ditch stand. Big guns go into action. Alert riflemen man every window, watching for fleeing Japs. Here are two who didn't flee far. Watch. Another is cut down. Day after day, the street fighting rages, with the Yanks holding the edge in marksmanship as Jap demolition squads systematically destroy the city and the Pasig bridges. The attack on southern Manila is made with assault boats. Under heavy Jap fire, the final and bitterest phase of the city's capture is underway. Japs put up their fiercest resistance in the southern part of the city, destroying and hiding out in snipers' nests, preferring to die rather than retreat, and flamethrowers burn them out. The battle-scarred post office building is taken by our men, and the American flag flies above the wounded. The seriously wounded are borne to the city hall, where a temporary hospital has been set up. Jap snipers fire on the litter bearers. Red Cross blood plasma is administered under fire. Now big guns pour death into the intramuros section, where the Japs make a last bitter stand. Under this terrific barrage, the infantrymen go forward cautiously, hugging the walls of buildings and running across open areas. The Intramuros district is surrounded by 30-foot thick walls, and for the infantry to enter, the walls must be breached by big guns. An entrance gained, the men pour into the ancient settlement. Here, too, the Jap goes underground, and riflemen as well as flamethrowers silence the snipers. Sometimes they're blasted out. This Jap is still breathing, one of the few to be found alive. Thousands of Japs were wiped out in Intramuros alone. This is the end of the fighting for Manila, a battle that has left the great city with painful, unforgettable memories. With the battle over, the Pasig River, natural barrier between North and South Manila, is bridged by the Yanks. The Philippine capital, free at last of Jap occupation, but ravaged and gutted by the enemy as a last resort, is returned to the Filipinos. Civilians forced to stay within Intramuros to shield the Japs from Yank artillery fire are sent to the rear by the liberating troops. Cologne, first crack in the Rhine armor, lies before onrushing tank elements of the First Army. In a desperate defense of the cathedral city, streetcars are used as roadblocks, but fail to stop the tanks which simply haul them along. So rapid is the tank advance that German strong points are overrun before effective resistance can be offered. 2 years of ceaseless bombings have reduced Cologne, Germany's fourth largest city, to a heap of rubble. A fleeing Nazi car doesn't get far. From now on, it's a street and sniping fight, and a careless Superman gets his. A German tank is within range. It's a direct hit, and the crew doesn't hang around long. Germany's pride, as well as her men, were dealt mortal wounds at Cologne. One of the finest tributes to Allied air marksmanship is the great Dome Cathedral, spared in a city which was virtually leveled. Thousands of Cologne's defenders were trapped before they could flee across the Rhine, and countless vehicles were blasted to bits, while retreating Nazis barely had time to destroy the famous Hohenzollern Bridge, Cologne's last link with the East Bank. Cologne is an example of the deadly results of Allied saturation bombing. But already the American Chamber of Commerce is here. Apparently, the inhabitants take the sign literally and stream back into the wrecked city. But even the lightning Yanks haven't restored streetcar service yet. Signal Corps pictures show graphically the miracle of Cologne, the survival of one of Europe's most magnificent buildings in a Holocaust which engulfed a city of 750,000 persons. South of Cologne at Remagen, our troops made one of the most spectacular coups of the war in capturing the Ludendorff Bridge intact minutes before the Germans were to blow it up. Prisoners streamed back as our men crossed the Rhine to establish our first bridgehead on the east bank of the river. Enemy planes come over and anti-aircraft fights them off. The capture of the bridge saved a costly crossing by assault boats and served our needs well until, weakened by the heavy traffic and bomb hits, it collapsed. As spearheads rolled into the inner citadel of Germany, dry feet were by courtesy of the 9th Armored Division. Men and supplies pour out of the east bank in a leap that caught the Germans by complete surprise and trapped thousands of prisoners. The Rhine crossing at Remagen was the signal for a general breakthrough of our armies across the Rhine. The defenses of Fortress Germany are crumbling fast. United States delegates to the United Nations Security Conference meet with President Roosevelt in Washington. Left to right are Congressman Bloom, Dean Gildersleeve, Senator Connally. Chairman of the delegation, Stettinius, Commander Stassen, Senator Vandenberg, Congressman Eaton. "39 peace-loving nations will meet in San Francisco beginning April 25th to prepare a security charter based on the Dumbarton Oaks proposals and the Yalta supplement. San Francisco's famous hotels, now overflowing with a wartime population, face a major housing problem with 3,000 visitors trying to occupy 2,300 rooms. The city's magnificent civic center will set the stage for this, one of the world's most fateful meetings. Veterans' War Memorial buildings will house the parleys. Back in Washington, the U.S. delegation meets to form preliminary plans for their part in the organization of a World Security Council and an International Court of Justice. Only member absent is Cordell Hull, senior advisor. Conference aims are stated by Secretary Stettinius.
The San Francisco Conference will have the great responsibility of preparing a charter for a world organization for peace and security. That will be its only job. It will not be a peace conference like the conference at Versailles to settle boundaries and fix reparations. The San Francisco Conference of all the United Nations will have before it the proposals drawn up at Dumbarton Oaks in Washington by the representatives of Great Britain, the Soviet Union, the Chinese, and the United States governments. These proposals have now been before the peoples of the world for their full and free discussion for almost half a year. I am confident that the goal of a World Security Organization is now within our grasp.
On April 1st, we will start a nationwide collection of 150 million pounds of used clothing to be sent to the millions of destitute war victims in China, Europe, and wherever the enemy has struck. Millions are homeless and without clothing, shoes, or bedding. Deaths from exposure among these men, women, and children equal deaths from starvation. In your home, you will find good used clothing, shoes, and bedding that you and your family can spare. Children's clothing is especially needed. Start now to gather your clothing gifts Your local clothing collection committee will announce the method of collection. Remember the date, April 1st to 30th, and don't forget, what can you spare that they can wear?
Planes line up to take part in the greatest air invasion in history by the first Allied Airborne Army. Americans, British, and Canadians make up this armada for a crossing of the Rhine in the north near Basel. 1,500 planes and gliders haul both men and heavy equipment in this leapfrog over German positions east of the Rhine. This trip is really necessary for victory as the first planes get away. Tow ropes are carefully guided to avoid fatal snarls. It's a gigantic task to get the troop planes and gliders away from their bases in England safely. A job without precedent in military annals. Takeoff instructions go to the transports when the gliders are once on their way. Winston Churchill and General Eisenhower observe progress from the ground near the Rhine. And then the Prime Minister takes a vantage point with Sir Alan Brooke as plane after plane nears the objective. 8th Air Force and British cameramen made these pictures as the men alert for the jump. And this is it. The C-46 plane enables the men to drop from both sides, 18 at a time, speeding up the operation. In a matter of seconds, the sky is filled with billowing parachutes. Next, the glider troops. The pilot releases the tow rope and the sailplane zooms to a landing. With the precision that comes from long planning, the invasion goes forward on schedule. The first wave of troops are out fast to take up their positions as they wait for their other buddies to land. One after another, the planes glide in, and some are hit by enemy shells. A troop carrier falls in flames, caught in anti-aircraft fire. With more split-second timing, artillery opens up. Within 8 hours, 4,000 prisoners were rounded up, and every objective was seized, a flying step to victory. Anti-mine tanks clear a path along the Western Front. The flails detonate the mines. The infantry exploits the General Patton's hard-driving third crashes into historic Koblenz from two sides. Right on the heels of the Yanks is Universal's Tom Priestley, who can generally be found where the going is hottest. Many of the scenes in this film are from his camera. The mop-up continues, street by street. An officer calls on the Nazis to surrender over the loudspeaker, and the Supermen can take a hint when the going is tough. Civilians are quick to follow suit. The war has finally come to their doorsteps. The defense of Koblenz was brief but bitter. However, Patton's Third Army has struck terror into the Wehrmacht. could be a Hitler hangover, or maybe just a patent pasting. Another rail center is paralyzed. Looming over captured Koblenz from across the Rhine is the ancient fortress castle of Ehrenbreitstein. Koblenz is again in American hands, just 22 years after Allied occupation. Back again. This giant French seaplane, powered by 6 motors, was developed during the occupation of France under the very noses of the Gestapo. The methods by which the plane was built, in spite of the Gestapo, are as secret as the plane's specifications. This plane represents France's bid for a place in post-war air commerce. France, a pioneer in aviation, stages a comeback in the world of flight. Bastogne in Belgium will long be remembered as the site of the heroic stand of the isolated 101st Airborne Division. Supreme Commander Eisenhower, in the midst of historic battlefields, honors the Screaming Eagles in a ceremony without parallel in war history.
It is a great personal honor for me to be here today to take part in a ceremony that is unique in American history. Never before has a full division been cited by the War Department in the name of the President for gallantry in action.
Watching the presentation is screen actress Marlene Dietrich. The 101st withstood von Rundstedt's final effort to break the Allied offensive when he endeavored to spearhead an attack through Belgium during the Battle of the Bulge. General Eisenhower himself salutes the heroic division, whose commander, General McAuliffe, turned down the German demand for surrender with the famous word, nuts. Against heavy odds, the Yanks stood firm. From such bravery, victory is forged.
I have done as you do in the field when the commander falls. My duties and responsibilities are clear. I have assumed them. These duties will be carried on in keeping with our American tradition. I know the strain, the mud, the misery, the utter weariness of the soldier in the field. And I know too his strength, and his faith in his comrades, his country, and himself. We are depending upon each and every one of you.
In the war against the aggressor nation, we must not forget another war, the war against want, the struggle to feed, clothe, and shelter the helpless, to assist the underprivileged, the sick, the very young, and the very old. This is the charter and the program of Catholic Charities. This, with your help, will be its accomplishment. Therefore, in the name of the homeless, the motherless, and the helpless, I appeal to you to contribute to Catholic Charities, to let us be your Good Samaritan in sharing your homes, your hearts, and your means with others less fortunate.
Foreign Commissar Molotov of Russia arrives at Blair House in Washington, where he was the government's guest prior to his departure for the World Security Conference at San Francisco. He confers with Anthony Eden and Secretary Stettinius during his stay at the Capitol. The Soviet foreign minister came to the United States at the direct invitation of President Truman to assist other members of the Security Conference in reaching a closer understanding. This 110-inch airplane tire is about to get the most severe test it's possible to give. At Wright Field Laboratories, a 370,000-pound steel wheel is revolved at 180 miles per hour, creating a gigantic braking power which is carefully measured. At the proper moment, the tire is pushed against the wheel, absorbing a shock many times greater than that of a landing plane. This rubber was torn loose in the first grinding impact before the flywheel was slowed down. Weighing 3/4 of a ton, some idea of the size of this giant may be gained by comparison with the standard tire of a B-17 and the tire of a Cub plane. Another Army experiment in safety. A crowd of 30,000 assembles to see the last B-17 roll from the assembly line of the Boeing Seattle plant. Henceforth, this factory will be devoted exclusively to the production of B-29 Superforts. Stickers commemorate the thousands of missions on which the flying forts have performed so gallantly throughout the world. Salute to a great airplane. Entering the final phase of victory over Hitler's Nazis, Yank armies swarm across western Germany, bringing devastation to cities of the Reich. From all sides, Allied might crushes in on the remains of the Wehrmacht, bringing home the horrors of war to the German people as they have never experienced it before. The white flag of surrender flies all along the battle-torn route as our fast-moving armies sweep to a junction with the Russians. German medical units handle casualties as captured Volkssturm troops swell the total of 1 million prisoners taken during the last As the Yanks arrive, civilians turn out to wonder at the fate that awaits a conquered nation. A burgomaster addresses a civilian gathering, but German morale breaks down and unruly crowds loot wrecked stores. Signal Corps cameramen film the looting of freight and passenger cars loaded with civilian and military goods. Other pictures showing the drive on Berlin were taken by newsreel cameramen. American MPs handle the traffic problem. Scrap metal from wrecked airplanes and German telephone equipment were being hauled in this wrecked train of 75 cars. Graveyards such as this one, where the Gestapo buried 30,000 Russians in 3.5 years, are only one result of mass starvation and brutality encountered by the Yanks.
Prison camps and forced labor camps took a heavy toll of millions of miserable people enslaved by the Nazis. These girls suffered incredible hardships when forced to work in German munitions factories. Slave workers who came from many parts of Europe. Each girl wore a number tattooed on her arm. And here is stark evidence of German torture. Yellow identifying crosses were daubed on their clothing. Thousands of these unhappy humans are being freed daily by the Allied armies. Years of privation left their mark on these men, gathering for cigarettes and to receive instructions from British and American military authorities. The Yanks get a rousing welcome. Among the crowds in the square, a Russian girl spots a Gestapo agent in civilian clothes posing as a Dutchman. He's quickly hustled off to jail. In France, 3 million families wait eagerly for their loved ones to return. Some of them have been gone for 5 years, and mixed feelings of joy and sadness greet the trains returning with the war prisoners. Such pitiful family reunions are reminders of the devastation and horror visited on the world by the Axis. Calling to our advancing armies is the storied city of Heidelberg, famed for its great university. Once a great center of German culture, the university attracted the patronage of wealthy Americans who contributed this building, captioned to the German spirit by the Nazis. American reporters uncovered the plaque, which the Nazis had removed, listing the donors, names familiar to all Americans. It was progressive Americans who helped maintain Heidelberg, just to have Nazi supermen grind culture under their heels. The Watch on the Rhine has taken on added significance in this war. This time, as our soldiers see the Star-Spangled Banner unfurled, they know that the Allies will police Germany until militarism is stamped out. General Omar Bradley gives personal thanks to his men at this point near Koblenz. It was after a slight pause here that his armies loosed the full fury of the attack on the Reich. Just what they have done, including General Patton's men, is history. The Stars and Stripes fly in victory over conquered German soil.